good vanilla ice cream. She's smooth, but it's satisfying. But okay, I mean, you can get some. So,
Ah, welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here live. All the radical people, come on in, join us, join us. This is Ladies' Night. We're going to have some fun, talk
yes,
about some stuff that just might make me blush, turn pink, but that's okay. We are in this together. We need to have these conversations. So I'm telling you, get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. It's gonna
right. And I think that's the great thing about this is women need to start talking about things. We were taught as babies not to talk about it. Like we can't even say the word, and I think we can say vagina here, but but we were even taught not to say the word. We gave it different names. We refer to it, but I think we're in a place now where women are no longer disempowered. And we need to empower women to talk about all those things that we couldn't talk about and wouldn't talk about. So that's why we're here tonight.
That's why we are here tonight. We are just diving right in. Dr. Jackie, just someone that I have admired from afar and have the opportunity to just worship God with. And you are just a jewel changing lives, always have for over 20 years in practicing medicine, right?
And say that again.
Has it been 20 years that you've been practicing?
20, 20, almost 24 years in July. So 23 years.
Look at there.
Hmm.
Now, tell us, have you always practiced in Atlanta?
I have. I did my medical school in Mississippi and my training at Mercer in Macon. And we would have to do some rotations here in Atlanta. And I just fell in love with Atlanta. So I knew as soon as I finished residency, I was coming to Atlanta. So I've been here 23 years, almost 24.
Mississippi girl.
Yes. Little country town with two traffic lights.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Has it
Yep.
grown since you left?
No.
That's wonderful. Wow. Humble
No.
beginnings. We all have had them.
Oh my God. But it's, I truly, and I mean, I love Atlanta. I love everything about Atlanta. I especially love what I do. So work doesn't feel like work to me. I go in and I have fun. My best friends have come from my practice. I enjoy what I do. I don't have to fake with the patients. I can be honest. I'm open with them as much as I can. Now, I am me, and I'm not going to say certain things, but I have pure joy when I go in. And so I can't complain. I love what I do.
That is so good. I've
Mhm.
met Dominique. We got so many ladies who are members of the church who are your
Mhm.
patients. Angela, my sister-in-law, and your reputation just preceded all the great person that you are, the great work that you're doing. How did you grow up wanting to be a gynecologist? How did that happen?
Well, I came again from Mississippi, and I never saw a physician in Mississippi for a long time that looked like me. So I didn't even realize it was possible. And I went to college thinking I wanted to do medical school, but I was afraid because I just didn't know enough people around me who had done it. But then I started going to school with people going like, if they can do medical school, I certainly could do medical school. And then, of course, I fell in love with this guy. I could drink a gallon of his bath water. I was so excited. And my mother was like, no, you have to finish school. So I decided I wanted to do medical technology so I could get out of college early. And I did that for about 2 years. And of course, as soon as I finished medical technology, he dumped me.
Oh no.
Yes. And when I worked a couple of years in the lab, I'm like, I'm going back to medical school. Went back to medical school and best thing I've ever done.
Wow. Did you so was it kind of like you had a passion for women's health or women's not private
Yes.
parts, but I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
the last word I could think of.
Right. My mother would not talk about women's health. Like we didn't talk about vagina as a vagina. You would say down there. And she also wouldn't talk much about a period. You knew you were going to get one, but nobody really told me anything about it. And I started, this is crazy. At 3 years of age, at third grade. So I was 8 years old. I started saying, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to move out of Mississippi and I'm going to make a lot of money. And I'm going to tell everybody. So I wanted to do indigent healthcare. It's like I wanted to educate everybody who didn't have it. Mama wouldn't talk about it. So I started saying it at 8 years of age, not knowing what I was saying that I wanted to do. And because nobody told us anything about it. If you found out anything about women's health, it was from a good girlfriend, on a movie, or the wrong way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because I have 3 girls and I still get a little embarrassed when I hear some of the things we have conversations about sex. It's just off limits, unfortunately, and we just gotta feel more comfortable in that space. I mean, I'm glad to hear your story because it was the same with me. I remember growing up and deciding I was going to be promiscuous as a teenage girl, and my mom was a high school counselor, and so her way of communicating being sexually active, she just kind of handed me some birth control pills because she knew what I was doing, and so I was supposed to just take it from there. I'm thinking, okay,
What do I do with this?
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, exact same story. And everybody in this era with us, your mother didn't tell you anything. Your girlfriends told you. You may have had a teacher who would tell you, but your mother didn't say anything to you at all. And we grew up totally ignorant, which to our blessings, we were safe because they didn't have a whole lot of stuff at that time. But she didn't talk to us about birth control. She didn't talk to us about peer. She would say, make your bed hard if you want to. It's like, you knew what that meant, but it's like, okay. And my mother was a teacher as well. So we couldn't do anything at the school and she didn't know about it. And she didn't like any guy. Every guy she said, I didn't like his daddy. Oh, his mama was like that. And she liked nobody. Nobody was ever good enough. So it was like, oh my God. And here's to the truth. She said, men are no good.
She lumped them all in one boat.
Absolutely. And she always said, you don't, everybody I met, oh, he's no good. He don't want him. All men cheat. You've heard that.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. And you grew up thinking, like, I've got to live my life in a defense mode all the time because my mother said all men cheat. And then sex, she wouldn't talk about it. You know, it was something dirty. It was something bad. And if you enjoyed sex, you were fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so we grew up so ignorant to what it is to actually have a healthy feminine sexual life that you had to figure it out when you were older.
That's right. I remember just the message to my girls back in the day was, abstinence. And of course, I still encourage that now because they're not married, but that's kind of, they tell me, they're like, Mom, that's outdated. I mean, it's just so unheard of. In fact, the ones who are trying to be celibate are the ones who are ashamed, really. But as a doctor and women who bring in their daughters and talk, and you have the opportunity to talk to them, is that something that you feel like is still important and relevant for particularly mothers who are trying to keep their children on the Christian path and raise them in the way that you were raised?
And I absolutely love to talk to the girls with the mother and without the mother because every mother feels like her daughter's not doing it or she's perfect or she would never. So I have a conversation with the mother and kind of echo what I know the mother would want to say. And we talk about it. It's like, sex is the most intimate part of your body you could ever give. And it was designed where it's intimacy. And so if that is something you want to give away, and then I go, as a matter of fact, are you having good sex? And most girls, young girls go, huh? No, are you having good sex? And they're like, Well, sex is for procreation and recreation. And if you are not procreating, are you at least having some good recreation? And they'll look at me like, no. I said, well, you should not be having sex if you're not having fun. Why are you doing it? And so we talk it through and break it down. We talk about the risk of sex. HPV is very serious. If you get it early, you may have abnormal paps forever. If you get chlamydia and scar your tubes, you have infertility. So I try to teach the facts and not fear. And then we get the mamas to leave the room so I can say, okay, now girl, go on and tell the truth. What's been happening? And I'm like, do you really like him? And this is the guy you're going to marry, right? And they go, no. I'm like, well, why you want to give away the most precious thing that you've been given to somebody you don't even like? And so I try to talk them through it, not out of fear though. And once you get married, you'll realize what I'm saying is like, this is the person you want to be with, and that's the gift you want to give him. So don't waste your time right now, especially if you're not having
It's,
like,
it's having orgasms and stuff, huh? It's like
yes, and young girls are having sex, but not having the benefits of what sex is all about. And it's like, so why are we doing it? Like, let's make it make sense. Because here I am, and I'm gonna, this is ladies' night, and we can be open and honest. I didn't even understand good sex until I got married and was married for years.
What do you think? Was it just your upbringing and maybe your inhibitions of, I don't want to be the freaky girl, and
yeah, my mother said that
grew up in church, the church girl.
That's it. And we grew up I grew up in an African Methodist Episcopal church, and my mom's like, I can tell. I know if you have sex. I know how you walk. I know how you look. So we were walking in fear. And then she was like, if you get pregnant, I am going to kill you. And you're not going to go to college. You're going to go in the back room, and that's where you're going to stay and work at the grocery store. So she really taught us with fear. Got married, and think about it. That's what I was programmed to think. Men are no good. All men will cheat. Sex is dirty. And so that's all I knew. And so I came in the marriage going like, ugh, okay, let me hurry up and get this over with. And it was like, this is no fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is so true. That's so good that, you can look back and talk about that now. Now, we know you wrote this amazing book, and we don't want to make light of that. Tell us what was the motive behind writing it? Because I know your previous release was on your breast cancer and imperfection, showing and embracing that we all have flaws, and particularly your story, which is amazing, of being a two-time breast cancer survivor. And then you pivoted into this space of, sexual health, vaginal health, Queen V. So tell us about Queen V.
So it is sex, intimacy, and down there healthcare. And I think that we were in this period where there was an epidemic of disempowerment with women. We saw all types of movements happening, but it was always something against a woman. And I had been saving these stories that I had gotten throughout residency where women would say things and had no understanding with it. Like I would even hear them use terminology, and I wrote it down once when this lady said, I had a history correction. I'm like, a hysterectomy. And so I would write down stories that women would tell me, and I would find myself using the stories to tell other women so that they could learn what to do or what not to do. And so I got together and I compiled this book, and crazy enough, it's almost like a self-help book for women around sexual and feminine health. And the book is written so that women got comfortable talking about feminine and sexual health like we were talking about. So much so we can't even say the word vagina on TV. Now you can say the male part, but you can't even say vagina on TV. So I wanted women to get comfortable talking about sex and talking about their, my vagina and what it looks like. And it doesn't have to have a certain appearance to be beautiful. And then I wanted, most importantly, women to protect that part of their lives, their sexual and feminine health, like the royalty that it is, hence the name Queen V.
Oh my gosh. You that story of one of your patients that said, Dr. Jackie,
Yeah,
I'm blushing a little bit, having to call it what it is. My vagina is perfect or beautiful or something, she said.
oh yeah, there's a story, and I'm still friends with this patient today. She said, "I can't wait till you see my vagina." And I'm thinking, I'm strictly girl now. She was like, "No, I want you. It's the most beautiful vagina in the world, kind of like the Mona Lisa." And I started thinking too, like, well, I want to see your vagina too. And so she said it's perfectly symmetrical. And the truth is, nothing on your body, not two sides of the body, will be symmetric. And she said it's not, it's perfect color. Everything about my vagina is perfect. And I'm thinking, okay, so who's misled you? Because the thing about it is, when God created everybody, He gave you something different. And
Mm-hmm.
no vagina is created equal. Nobody's going to have the same vagina. But she was so intrigued with her vagina being beautiful that I used her story to teach women the vagina is beautiful to you, and it doesn't have to be beautiful to anybody else.
That's good that she was so confident. And obviously she embraced her body part
Oh,
and thought it was the most attractive and beautiful thing. Like you said, now who has misled you? But to her, oh my goodness, she felt
oh,
like, yeah.
yeah. And so when I started the book out with a test because I thought that there were vaginal personalities. Not that your vagina truly has a personality, but the way you respond around feminine and sexual health, so much so that we don't even like to say the word if you're a certain vaginal type. And so I put Virgin Mary, and she, doesn't really talk about sex, may not know anything around sex. She's just that girl who's totally green around sex. Then I used to sanctified snatch, and I love those patients. They come in the room, and y'all world changers out there know who you are, and
Come
they'll
on,
say,
these radical world changes out there. Sanctified snatch.
"Yeah," and they whisper, "My vagina." And I said, "Well, now it's only me, you, and God in this room. What you whispering for?" They will not talk about their vaginas. You have your Mary Janes like myself, where we're the everyday girl. We'll try to use the proper terminology, but there's still a little bit of reserve. And then you got your coochie chondriacs, Pastor Taffy. And those are the women who think the vagina causes all the problems in the world. They come to the doctor at least 3 times a month. And I thank you because I mean, you got to pay a copay, so I don't mind. But they go to the doctor all the time, like my vagina didn't look right, it didn't smell right, something's not right with it. My toe was hurting, so I know my vagina must be infected. My car didn't run right today, so it comes right before a yeast infection. And I call them coochie chondriacs. And then we have a notorious VAG. This is the girl who will do Mile High Club. If you don't know what that is, you better check on it. She's willing to hang out on the back seat of a car somewhere, and she's just free. I gave a story in the book about a notorious VAG that I encountered, and she said, "I have 5 partners." And I'm thinking, okay. And she said, "Fix your face, Dr. Walters, fix your face." And I'm like, okay, 5 partners. And she said, "I'm like a general manager. I manage the 5 partners. And I have got this one for this and this one for that." And she went through, and her partners were not just anybody. We had a congressman, we had a doctor. She had 5 partners. And I'm like, "Well, are you actually having?" And she said, "Say the word." So she was actually educating me to be free to talk about her sexuality. And she then added, "And I got 3 in reserve if I need it." Like, this is a whole basketball team.
Wow.
So women are all different when it comes to feminine and sexual health. So I use all the stories in the book and try to bring those personalities in those different stories.
That is so good. Because sometimes you wonder, just being married, being a wife, you hear about, men are really more into the more wilder, freaky type stuff, or is it where, the more conservative you are, the less exciting you are in the bedroom? You know what I mean? So I think sometimes as a Christian woman, you wonder, okay, Am I doing enough? Am I enough? I'm going to get to some of these questions too over here on the side. We got a lot of people logging on, but yeah. So it's that balance of all those things that you mentioned, because people are having more sex, and you're seeing it like never before. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
probably back when you started in the 90s, that women weren't as sexually active. It wasn't as much going on, or was it? Has it always been going on? But now it's just more talked about because we see it on television and we are with our girlfriends and they're talking about what they're doing, and it's just in our faces now.
Yes, absolutely. And women are talking about it more. And I'm glad, because if you don't talk about it, you don't know about it. You can obviously think something's wrong with me, or you may have a burning desire to express yourself with your partner or your husband in a certain way, and you're holding back. So you're actually missing out on, because you think you're going to be judged by the fact that you enjoy sex as a woman, which is perfectly okay.
That's good. Everybody has a libido. All women have a libido.
Well, I did write there in the book, there's a small subset of people who just don't desire sex. And they just have, they're asexual. They're not, they don't have a desire for a man or a woman. But for the most part, women have libido. And it is based on the fact of where you are in your life, who you're with, and what's going on in life. Now, it has been said that about 75 to 80% of women will have decreased libido at some point in their lives, but we all have a libido. Now, what I'd like to say to men is we would have more of a libido if men would actually learn who we really are. Most men never call you during the day. You get home, you cook, you do the kids, you do the laundry, and you go to bed. You're too tired to have a libido. It may be there, but I'm so tired being a mominger, managing the kids, and a wifinger, managing the husband, that my libido is somewhere down in there. I just don't have time and energy to bring it out. But, women have libido.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Let's talk about some of the healthy stuff. You mentioned, I read your article in Essence, and it came in line with your new release in your book, talking about the tea tree oil, drenching,
Yes.
some of those things, tubs versus showers.
Right. I met Charlie Penn probably 10 years ago, and we did this article. And she just recently shared with me that that is the one article in Essence that has been read 10 million times.
Yay.
And that article, I wish I had gotten paid for it, but that article was about do not put soap in your vagina. Because we grew up thinking you needed to scour out the vagina almost like it's a pot. And you do not, let me say to everybody, do not put soap in the vagina. And when I say in the vagina, we all know how we clean out. We get, you going on like that. You really don't need that. All the vagina needs is water. And I've written in the Queen V that the vagina is a self-cleaning oven. And basically, just like dust is skin cells that we're all shedding throughout the day, the vagina excretes epithelial cells and mucus almost like an oven. It's cleaning itself out. So there's no need to take soap and do all of that, because you shift the pH of the vagina, which is the acidity and alkalinity of a space in the body. And the vagina is acidic. If you go in and you start scouring out the vagina and douching and putting lotions and potions and the eggs and stuff they have now, and you kill that lactobacillus out of the vagina that is supposed to be there, that acidity is disrupted. And when you disrupt the acidity of the vagina, then it's more susceptible to yeast infections and bacterial vaginosis and all the other things, oses and itises that we get in the vagina. And so tea tree oil is one of those oils that you can take and just kind of splash on the labia, the mons area, that kind of gives you that nice mentholy feel and smell. But there is no reason to put anything in your vagina except the parts that we can't talk about right now. Yeah, you don't have to put anything in there to clean the vagina. If the vagina is talking to you and you smell her or you hear her or something's not right with her, then there's a problem. And it's not something you can fix with soap or douching or hocus pocus things that we put in the vagina. That's when you need to talk to your doctor and find out, like, I have an odor. What could be causing this odor? And I'll qualify odor. If you are that, and it's in the book, there's a subset of women who, if you eat fish or you eat onions or you eat certain foods, you will excrete that smell out through the vagina. So you have a nice fish fillet, and the next morning you wake up like, oh my God, I have bacterial vaginosis. Well, you don't. You have fish fillet-osis, but you don't have bacterial vaginosis. And a lot of times that's just going to go away. And BV tend to hang around for a few days. So just know, a lot of times the vagina is your friend. It is not your enemy. We treat her like she's our enemy, and she's not.
So it's a renewing of the mind to not feel as if it's a body part or part of you that you should be embarrassed by. I'm calling the body part like it's something outside of my body. But
you haven't gotten that old school thing out yet where you can't say the word vagina. Let me hear you say vagina, Pastor Taffy.
Vagina.
Okay, there you go. Or just call it a queen bee if you want to. But it is such a wonderful organ. Think about it. The birth of a child comes through a woman, and it comes through in most instances, it'll come through the vagina, or at least it'll go in through the vagina. And so it's such a royal part of us that wars have been started, people have been killed. It's just, we need to be free to talk about a vagina. Men talk about it all the time.
They do. They call it a word.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And so I want women to be
talking about it, joking about it.
Yes. Yeah. And don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
If she has an odor, just say, something's not right. And talk about it. Don't be embarrassed. And we are always feeling like we did something wrong. Anytime there's something wrong with the vagina, a woman takes ownership that something went wrong and she did something wrong. And it's usually not something we've done wrong. Yeah. Now, if you start putting things in there, Pastor Taffy, there's a whole chapter in there we talk about things that shouldn't go in the vagina. And I wrote about a few things, like I have some stories in there where I've gotten out what I got out of the vagina. And the most bizarre thing that I can recall ever getting out of the vagina was a glass vase.
Oh my gosh.
She and her partner were using it as a toy, and it created a suction inside the vagina, and they could not get it out for 3 days. They added oil, they added water, they did everything they could, and the top of the vase had created a suction around her cervix or to her vaginal wall. And we pulled and we tugged. We could not get the glass vase out of her vagina. So I had to get a male OBGYN to come into the ER with me and break the seal off the top of the glass vase to get it out. And it's like, okay, get some real toys. Now we got a whole lot of toys on the market. And if you're into toys, get one, but do not use certain items. I've gotten fruit out of the vagina. I've got Snicker bars out of the vagina. I've gotten nuts and bolts out of the vagina. Must I go on?
It's ladies' night. Come on.
So I'm just saying,
what y'all doing in this quarantine?
Exactly. And so I want you to take the fruit and eat the fruit, but please don't put the fruit in the vagina. You are waiting on a yeast infection. That is sugar. And so the things that we get out of the vagina, retained condoms, retained tampons, all those things. And I can kind of see how that happens. We see retained tampons all the time because we get busy as women and you kind of forget on those last few days. But there are some things you just don't want to put in the vagina, because the young lady who had the nuts and bolts, her partner was really into that sensation. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You just have to keep a straight face, don't you?
No, you know what? The good thing about it, I'm going, girl, what the heck? What is this? And in the book, I talk about the young lady who had the Snicker bar. I said, well, here's the mistake. You got bite size. Can we get a king size Snicker bar?
Come on. Why are we bite sizing? Man.
Right.
Oh,
Right. If you gonna talk me into a Snicker bar, you better bring me a king size.
Jumbo. Come on. Here.
Exactly. Right.
So that's good. So a lot of soaking is going on. We're trying to take our Calgon baths just to relax. We're all in this pandemic. But you, in your book, you reference to really take a bath and soak once a week. Is that right?
At the most, like I'm a completely shower girl. Now, the beauty of it though is if you do take a bath and you sit down, the walls of the vagina will collapse and close. So you're less likely to get any of that into the vagina. But if you're in the tub and you moving and opening and having relationships, or should I just say having sex in the tub, you're getting that detergent or that soap and stuff in your vagina. So you want to be careful. But if you're taking a bath and you take it once a week, okay, you're less likely to disrupt the normal flora of the vagina. So infrequently, if at all.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Grady, if you have to use some kind of soap, because we're still kind of working on my pH, is there something that's mild, or you really recommend no soap and only tea tree oil if you choose to use something?
No soap in the vagina at all, like zero Pastor Taffy. You can use soap everywhere else, but once you hit the mons pubis, the soap stops right there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, by default, you're gonna get some soap in the area, but we like to lather it all up like Cool Whip, soap everywhere. No soap, no douching. And if you gotta put something there to make you feel better, again, I'm a tea tree oil person.
Tea tree oil. All right, ladies.
Now, let me qualify. If you have vaginitis or yeast, or you've had rough sex and there's some abrasions in the area, be careful because it's going to sting. Yeah.
That's good. Good stuff.
Yeah. And so now let me give them a tip. And I wrote about that in the book too. And these people should pay me for this. There is a gel called Refresh. It's spelled REPHRESH. And it's like the pH. And if you put Refresh into the vagina, and I don't even know the products in it, it actually gives you an odorless vagina. Now, it's not going to fix infections, but it definitely creates an odorless vagina. Now, I would not use it before oral sex if that is what you're going to do, because we don't know if you're supposed to eat this stuff. But if you want just a fresh vagina, I would recommend something like Refresh.
That's good.
Yes.
Okay, so some of the 10 vaginal hygiene commandments, we talked about a couple of them. And this is one here where thou shalt not double dip. Now that's something that I just had a conversation. I'm learning all this, tossing salads and just like eating groceries. I mean, it's a whole new world with
So yes, if you are using
oral, I mean, it's just so much going on. So
let me add a couple of points. Right now in the pandemic of COVID, they have not found the virus in vaginal secretions. They've not found it in semen, but they've found it in feces. So if you are into rimming, which I talked about in the book, and that is where you're just kind of hanging out around the anus and using your tongue, you want to be careful because COVID has been found in feces. And so when we talk about double dipping, you should not go from the anus to the vagina without washing, because there's certain bacteria in the anus that should not be in your vagina. And so obviously you could go in the other direction, but do not go from an unclean cavity, which is the anus, into the vagina because you are inviting infection.
And definitely not the mouth. Is that a given?
Yes, please don't. Please don't. Because here's the crazy thing about it. You can still get gonorrhea and chlamydia in your throat. And so you certainly don't want to do that. But if you think about hand washing, if you are going from the anus to the throat, it's just like you went to the bathroom and took your hands and put it in your mouth, and you don't want to do that. I mean, there is no, I just don't know who you love that much that you would put your life at risk. So you got to think, like, when we're in the mood, we kind of forget, and you asking the Lord to forgive you this time and you ain't gonna never do it again. Don't forget, because there's still consequences to all of the decisions we make. And we're telling you tonight, ladies, don't start going from one orifice to the next without some cleaning. And if you're into it, make sure you keep some wipes near the bed so you can clean up before you go from one place to the next.
Keep some wipes. All right.
Yep. And know that you can also get HPV on your throat, on your vocal cords. And of course, there are types of HPV, but the high risk ones that cause cervical cancer, and then type 6 and 11 that can cause genital warts. And so just know that you can get infection in your throat as well.
So ladies, Dr. Jackie's book, you want to get it. It's called The Queen Bee, and it is very informative, very insightful. It goes into a lot more than what we've talked about already.
We want them to be able to laugh and talk and be comfortable. And I wrote the book where I gave you the stories, because some of the stories you're gonna go like, and I talk a little bit, and I use stories that are real. I changed all the identities though. And I even told a story about a young lady who said to me, I have to tell you something. And I can tell you as an OBGYN, when a pregnant woman say, I have to tell you something, in our mind, the first thing is, who's the daddy? And so she started telling me a story, and she said, I have to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, you're not sure who's the father. She said, it's worse than that. I'm like, okay. And she said, well, it's my husband's best friend.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's worse than that. And oh no, she said, it's worse than that. Well, the husband was one race, and the boyfriend, best friend, was another race. And so I'm like, oh my God, okay. And she said, no, it's worse than that. I'm like, how much worse can this story get?
I know.
Well, the best friend had gotten killed in an accident. And she had made her mind whose ever baby it was going to be was the person she was going to be with. And so I use that whole story to talk about paternity testing, just making wise decisions, STIs, and they changed it from STDs for those of us who knew sexually transmitted diseases forever. It's now sexually transmitted infections. But I used the story again because I wanted you to give me your attention and then talk about some things that you can learn from the story. So the book is written throughout like that, where I tell a story. I end each chapter with a point of V, where I kind of give you the big points. The take home point is to go away from that. Go away from there with that. I use several of my colleagues who are experts, whether it is vaginal rejuvenation with a GYN, a urogynecologist, a sex therapist, a reproductive endocrinologist. I talked to one doctor who works with just teens. We use all of that to just make us aware, because one of it is, and we talk about it all the time at the church, and all you're getting is getting understanding. And so you got to have the facts and understand it, even if you're going to make some bad decisions and you want two boyfriends, okay, you still want to know the consequences, or you need to know when to call your doctor. So the book is written like a self-help take home. This will get me out of trouble. I wrote about protection plans, and everybody knows my story and I don't hide it. Even being married, you're not totally immune from things happening. And I was clueless, and I tell the whole wide world, I had no clue, because I was walking around and I don't know if I thought I was the best thing ever or my husband just wasn't that guy. But I wrote protection plans like, if you are married and you have been involved in a relationship and there's been some infidelity, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do this. And since I don't really do jail medicine, I'm not going to tell you kill or hurt anybody because you got to go to jail. But we just talk about protection plans. If you're into this, you need to do this. So I tried to cover everything I think I've seen in my 24 years of practice.
That's so good. The book in and of itself is excellent. It is outstanding. And it is very relatable too, ladies, where you can really understand just very practical things. Um, and you make it so approachable and not a thing. It's like, okay, this is me and all the different analogies and examples and stories that you give. We can all relate with the different personalities of the vagina, the different patients that you have. And I love that. And even just the title itself, Vagina Monologues. It's just 2020. We got to really start being comfortable with every part of ourselves, including that area.
And not being embarrassed to talk about it. If you did it, I always say to, especially my teenagers, if you've done something, the only way I can really help you is that you tell me and let me know. Don't hide it, because sometimes it's too late for me to help you. If you have an STI and it's turned into something else, just tell us and just own it, and just know your vagina is not making history. It has been done before. And so you will probably not shock your doctor if you tell us about the glass vase was a first for me.
Oh my God.
But I'm telling you, when I see it now, I'm like, oh, so you that kind of girl, huh? Okay, let's do it. And that kind of girl, not meaning anything negative, is that you're free. You just free to kind of be out there willy-nilly. Like, you need to have a VIP card. So you can call me anytime, but it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Good people make bad decisions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then people who make decisions and it's a mistake, a lot of times we can help you fix your mistakes. I talk a lot about STIs. If you have an incurable STI, in a lot of instances, we can control it. We can help you to decrease the risk of transmitting it to somebody else. And you don't walk around with a label on your head. I have a lot of women I've encountered who feel like they're not worth anything anymore after they've contracted herpes. That's not true at all. Not at all. We put them on medicine, we control the outbreaks, we control the transmission, and nobody knows it, ladies, if you don't tell the world. And so you need to have probably a few holiest of holies friends where you share that kind of stuff with. And we talk about those people in the book who you need to have on your sexual health team: your doctor, your spouse, your holiest of holies friends, your therapist. I got a list of people, and you don't need too many people on your team when it comes to your sexual health. So you don't tell everybody everything about your life and your body when it comes to sex.
Mm. But there should be a doctor who you're seeing regularly. And it's great if you have a girlfriend to be able to talk about certain things.
One or two. You don't need too many girlfriends that you share that kind of information with, because people give advice based on what they think you should do until they have to do it. And so don't invite a bunch of women or men in your sexual health. It's not wise.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Let's see, we got Denise. She says, thanks for real information that most would not be willing to share. Let's see, we got some questions here about uterine fibroids too. Dr. Jackie, your practice is located here in Atlanta, North Atlanta, and you just got God bless and expanded. You got a new building. I saw it on the show. God is just expanding and increasing.
My goodness, absolutely. I can certainly say it. But fibroids in Black women, really all women, but particularly the African American woman, it is so prevalent, that we see so many fibroids. And what I said to a young lady on a show yesterday, she felt like her doctor told her she just needed to have a hysterectomy. And I always say to women, when you go to the doctor, find a doctor who gives you treatment options. It's rare that there's only one way to treat most things. You know, cancer, maybe there's only a way or two. There are only a few ways. But for most women, like fibroids, I always say to them, you have four good options. You can stay conservative, which is basically doing nothing or taking medicines. You can do a uterine fibroid embolization if you are a candidate for that. We can remove the fibroids, called a myomectomy, or we can remove the uterus, which is a hysterectomy. You tell me what is right for your life, because the patient ultimately knows what she's comfortable with. I would never want a woman to have a hysterectomy if she's going to walk around and feel like I'm less than a woman. So you give patients, or your doctor should give you treatment options so that you know that you don't have to do anything and you're comfortable with it. And you may not be comfortable today. I certainly say go home, process that information, and call me back with your questions, because just hearing that you have fibroids for some women seem to be very devastating. So know that you have options.
That's good. Um, Hysterectomy, when you say is one of the over practiced surgeries, is that still the case?
Not as much now, because again, we have different types of options. Um, I think that's most of what women know. And I don't want to say anything about my colleagues because everybody's a little different. But I try to make that the last approach for a woman. Now, let's qualify. If you are a coochie chondriac, if I can say that to you, and you go to your doctor 20 times in a year complaining about my period's heavy, my period's heavy, we may feel right now you have tried everything else or you are not ready for anything else, and that is one of the surgeries that's going to help you.
Mhm.
So a lot of information that you give to your doctor can guide us in giving you options, because again, if you go in twice a month and you, that's what, 24 times in a year,
Mhm.
and you're bleeding and you're hurting and you're bleeding and you're hurting, I might tell you it's time to give up your uterus. Not tell you, but I may give you a strong nudge that it's the right thing for you. But ultimately, the woman needs to decide what's right for her.
Gotcha. All right, we got some men here. Oh, well, on our ladies' night, let me go back to this question right here. From Michelle White, she asks, have you known someone who's ever been healed from herpes, Dr. Jackie?
I know women who don't get outbreaks. And I'm not going to say that it is forever gone, because it's a virus and we don't know if that virus is ever completely gone from the body. But I do know women who may have had outbreaks and they've never seen another outbreak again. But we do warn them that the virus could still be lurking somewhere in the body. And I don't know how to answer that. I've seen women who don't get initial outbreaks, but I cannot say to her, scientifically speaking, that the virus is gone.
Mm-hmm. So it could just kind of be lying dormant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, again, your beliefs is what makes you whole. So,
And sometimes stress, like being in a pandemic, can bring out outbreaks and things like that.
right. And the thing we need to know about herpes, there are two types of herpes. We have herpes 1, which we consider the cold sore or the oral herpes, and herpes 2. The thing about herpes, and we do talk about that in the Queen Bee, is they can flip flop. Now, if you are having oral sex and you pick up HSV2 around your mouth, you have oral herpes, but it's type 2, and vice versa. If your partner has a cold sore and you're having oral sex and you then have an outbreak, you have HSV1 on your genitals. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be, I have HSV1. A lot of women are now coming into the office like, I want to be tested for everything. Let's talk about that. When you walk into your doctor's office and you want HIV, hepatitis, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, check me for everything, you have to be ready for the results. Most women, when they find out that they have antibodies, not the actual virus that we're detecting, but you have antibodies to herpes. They are messed up in the head forever. And so I say to women, like, that's something I don't want to go checking for if I'm not having any problems. You know, I'm married. I don't need to check for herpes because I'm probably going to feel a little homicidal if I find out I had herpes and I didn't have it before. So if that's not going to change your life in any way, you're not having sex outside of your marriage and you don't suspect he's having sex, I don't know if I tell women that they should always get checked for herpes, but if you find out you have it and you're not having any outbreaks, don't let it drive you crazy. Like, we don't look on your forehead and see that you have herpes. It does not change the person that you are because you have herpes. You're still a wonderful person. You're still beautiful. You're still royal, and you're still a queen. You just have to make sure if you have outbreaks, you take the medicine, and the medicine keeps the outbreaks quiet. So if you are in the pandemic right now and you're getting recurrent outbreaks, call us so we can get you on some medicine.
Do you think that for people who are maybe engaged that they should do like STD tests together? Is that
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, even before, and Pastor Taffy's talking to you guys from a standpoint where you are not having sex until you get married. However, I don't always see women who take that as an option. If you are entering a relationship and it's about to transition into a sexual relationship, yes, get all your STIs checked. Now, if you just had sex yesterday with somebody, the STI I'm checking you for today will not tell me if you picked up something last night. So if you've been in a relationship and there's been no sex for months and months, yes, go get checked for every STI so that you come in with your clean bill of health saying, now, when I entered this relationship, I didn't have any of these. And being nice. You don't want to transmit anything to your partner and not know that you have something. So yes, before you get married, if you've not had sex, or before you enter into a sexual relationship, please, please, please go get and insist that he gets his and look at the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Put your eyes on the paper. Don't let him tell you, well, they said everything's okay. Yeah. You need some receipts, as we say on Broadway, in that world. You want to look at it and see that, and because he might not have been reading it right. You want to make sure, because women are just read the paper and make sure he does not have STIs. And if he does, let's talk about that. If he has an STI that you can live with, because even in the age of HIV, it's a chronic illness, and some couples are living with. You still want to know and be protected if you do not want to transmit or contract an STI.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, so get your STIs, get your credit check, get your background check, get all that stuff before you get married.
So even if you love him, I love him, Dr. Jackie.
Because you are dating, let's tell him, Pastor Taffy, let me step out. Look, I have to do this in the office. I'm not that nice little Christian doctor right now. The man that you are dating is the representative. He is going to make sure you see all the good stuff about him. He's going to say all the right things. He's going to call you and be wonderful. Something transitions somewhere, I don't know what, and you get home and you're like, where's my husband? Because this is not the person that I married. So do know, when you get into a relationship or you get into a marriage, we all change, and sometimes good change. We're humans, so we change, but we may not always change at the same level. And you're growing over here spiritually and professionally, and you're mentally developed, and he's not growing at the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
So you want all those documents there before when you're in love, you're secreting phenylethylalanine, PEA, and it makes you think that this man is the best man ever. Your thinking is obscured. Get the test. Get the test.
Get the test.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the quarantine. Someone asked, what does self-care entail for you personally? I think get the Queen V book. That's a great way to do
Got plenty of time on your hands. So read the Queen V.
Read
And
the Queen.
it's written where you don't even have to read the whole book. You can go to the front and pick out what's pertinent to you, or you can go to the back and just look up words of things you may want to know and just read those. But it's some good information in there, and it may not even be for you. You may have a good girlfriend, and I even say in the book, sometimes you may have to present the story as a girl, as it's my girlfriend. If you don't want to tell me that you had sex with two people in the same week and we don't know who the father is, okay, at least tell me about a girlfriend so that you can at least get the facts. So yeah. But get the book, read it. We got plenty of time. We probably are going to be in this quarantine another month. We haven't peaked here in Georgia yet. And it'll probably be May 11-ish before I think life will get back to normal for us in Georgia or in Atlanta anyway. And so read the book. It's information that's going to empower you to be the best that you can be, and you'll be a wealth of knowledge for other women around you.
Jessica's asking, the book is sold at
Amazon and Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, and your website.
And you can go to my website. It's affordable. It's gonna forever leave a mark in your life that you're gonna say, okay, I remember she said. And we all have read books before where you're like, there's this one thing you take away from the book that's gonna change your life forever. But I want women just comfortable to talk about sex, feminine health. We talk about painful sex. As we mature, and I'm not going to call myself older, but as we've matured, the anatomy has changed. You know, the vagina is made like a nice washboard, but as you age, it becomes more of a sliding board, and it's not as comfortable during sex. But we gave you some tips in the book on some suppositories you can use, so when you're having sex, it's like, oh, yeah, I like this. It just kind of creates a layer and it feels great. So anything a woman could go through, I give you just enough that you can be safe and happy and wealthy. And so,
And pleasure, which is part of what sex is supposed to be about. I know we don't talk about that much in Christianity, that, you know, sex is a gift and it also is to be pleasurable. Is,
absolutely,
you know,
yeah. If you are not having good sex,
enjoyed.
you shouldn't be. Well, I'm not gonna say that. I can't say you shouldn't be having sex. If you're not having good sex, you need to work on having good sex, because sex is supposed to be enjoyable. Like, you're supposed to finish like, whoo. Somewhere in there, it should be some ooh, ooh, ooh for the woman. And I talk about it in the book. When I was first married, and it was probably inappropriate, but I would say to Curtis almost like, ooh, that was a 10. But I would also say like, what was that? That was a 2. And so you want to find a way that you can communicate with your partner. And that's what we have to be comfortable with as women, because we don't like to tell men negative stuff. And it really isn't, we shouldn't tell them negative stuff. It's how you say it to your partner. Now, I have had to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is your tone, it is the choice of words, and it's timing. Like, when your husband first gets home, he's on the front line of this whole COVID-19. That's not the time to come in the house talking to him about money when you first get in the house, because you're stressed. And and so it is really important that you do talk about good sex. You have to say, now, I don't like it when you blowing in my ear.
Come on, somebody.
You have to, yeah, like, don't touch me like that. But it's about delivery. Like, baby, that doesn't feel real good when you do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Or come over here and do it like that. And it doesn't make you a fast girl, a nasty girl, or any of that when you talk about sex, because men tell us what they like and don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be able to communicate that back to our partners if we intend to have good sex. And if you're the lady, and we talk about sexual disorders in the book, if you're the type of person who's having pain during sex, or you're not having an orgasm, talk to your doctor, because sometimes it's anatomical and sometimes it's psychological, not meaning something's wrong with you psychological. You may be suppressing some abuse that you had, or you may have been in a bad relationship and you can't block that out of your mind, and it interferes, because the most critical organ, and when you read the book, the most critical sex organ you have is your brain.
I thought you would say the clitoris, but that's not really.
And you know, most people think that, but the most important sex organ, because everything starts right here, your
Mhm.
hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, and what you see, the smells, all of that is going to manifest in the brain. And if you're going to have good sex, it has to start right here. Now, there are some women out there who go, oh, it's good, it happens. For the most part, most women are just having great sex without having a great partner, being in the right place. So right here is your most critical sex organ.
Mm, that's good.
Yes.
Oh, what you are a wealth of information. Oh my gosh, we got so many questions, so many great comments that are coming in from these radical women and men.
Yeah.
Men that's sneaking on here. I had a quick question. I know. What do you think about midwives? Is that you? You
I work with midwives and I have a midwife, and I think there are a wealth of knowledge. They are vitally important to us because in a lot of instances, if you have just a normal vaginal birth, no complications, they have been so well trained to take care of you and hold your hand and deliver you safely. So I enjoy my midwives. It's a team approach though. You need to have a midwife who is talking to the doctor and communicating with the doctor. But I love midwives.
okay? Yeah, because when I had our first kid, I was trying to stay home, and a friend of mine had her kids in the tub, and I and with a midwife, and I'm like,
Now that's a lay midwife. That's a little different. And I do not advocate home births. And I know they'll send you all the comments at all because until you see a maternal death due to hemorrhage,
ooh,
you're never going to really understand it. And unfortunately, and we can one day come back and talk about maternity mortality and how disproportionately high it is for African American women. But until you see a complication, because you think, okay, I have a baby, boom, it's done. But that's not always the case. And so I don't advocate home births at all.
mm,
Come to the hospital, labor in the tub, turn a room into your house, do anything you want to do. But I would definitely say be readily available to a doctor and a nurse, or have us readily available to you. So, mm-mm, mm-mm.
good to know because there's so many risks and complications out there, and like you said, the mortality rate is so high for African American women, and we just need to take as many precautions as we can. And particularly now with hospitals so advanced, I mean, you got a whole suite. We didn't have that when I was having my kids. I mean, it's so comfortable. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
this is
it's set up to look like your bedroom.
right.
And we allow you to stay in the tub for now. We don't do water births at Northside, but you can definitely hang out in the tub until it's time to deliver. You can have music. And this is not COVID, not pandemic time, but before that, you could be at home. But I just say I've seen complications and it goes bad so fast that you're like, oh my God, what happened? And so one of the worst I've seen is a young lady who labored in the tub, had the baby was fine, and she never stopped bleeding. And it was just a miracle from God by the time they got her to the hospital. She barely had a hemoglobin of 4 when 11 is normal because she bled so fast and she had had a baby before.
Mhm.
So no home births.
No home birth, ladies. Dr. Jackie can be found on her social media. I want to give out your social media information on Twitter.
Yes.
There,
On Instagram, it's the real Dr. Jackie, and on Facebook and Twitter, it's Dr. Jackie Walters.
wonderful. I'm going to put your book up so that they can see that.
And take the test. Let Pastor Taffy know your vaginal personality because it is so amazing to see how your vaginal personality may change over time because you may come into a marriage where you were a sanctified snatch, and by the end of the marriage, you and your husband, you're notorious VAG. So take the test and find out. And what you will find out is your vaginal personality can be influenced by who you're hanging out with, what you're doing, what you don't know, what you do know. And the one thing I can tell you is don't leave the book with fears. You shouldn't have a fear about anything when it comes to feminine health, because you've been empowered to know what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm. That's right. We're going to end on that note. What to do and what not to do.
Yes.
No need for us to be ignorant, to be embarrassed, to be ashamed. It's 2020. We should start having these conversations. What better time than while we're in quarantine with our daughters and with our spouses? And like you said, it's going to be a lot of babies that are being born.
And call me when you get them. But, talk to your young girls. Please, 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 because they're getting their information off of social media. And that you don't want your daughters not able to talk to the mom. So please have open conversation. Even if you got to put a paper bag over your head, talk to your daughters. Please talk to your daughters.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for to have our ladies' night tonight. You're so radical. You rock. I just appreciate and admire you from afar. Keep doing what you're doing. Your light is shining so very bright. And I'm so proud that you're part of our family and just doing all the great things that you're doing. So
that's right. And I've got the world's greatest spiritual mother. And I started this conversation out with her in that you make me nervous, Mom. And so, yes. And you keep doing, thank you so much for setting up these platforms where women who wouldn't normally talk about this can hear about it.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
And stay well. We're praying for you along with all the other healthcare professionals. And thank you so much for all the great things that you're doing to keep us safe and healthy.
Okay. Thank you. Well, stay in the house and stay safe.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, ladies. Thank you so much for being here tonight on our second ladies' night. I hope you enjoyed it. As Dr. Jackie said, she's a wealth of information. Go ahead and get her book. It's available at Amazon. It's available Barnes & Nobles. It's available at her website, Dr. Jackie. You can avail yourself to all the great things so that you can really be in this space of freedom. And just information is so powerful. Knowledge is power. And we've got to get rid of that old upbringing where we just kind of didn't talk about it. We weren't taught about it. So consequently, we don't pass the information down, but it's time for us to start having these conversations. And I just want to thank everybody for logging in. Hope you enjoyed it and really got a few things that you can take away and just share and pass on with other people. So we're going to continue these. We have one on next week. Is with Dee Dee Freeman and Caroline Leaf. We're going to be talking about mental health, just being healthy. I know we're in this quarantine and we're going to get through this together. And so I just want to encourage you with information and just kind of keep it light. There's a lot of heaviness that is going on in the world today. And fear is knocking at the door, but just stay in faith and stay light, stay full of joy, and stay full of the peace of God. So thank you again. Hope you enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing you again this time on next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.